This is Plushie From the Sky, a beautiful, creative, and more importantly than anything else, fun indie single-player game with a ton of charm, and I think it's been absolutely slept on. It's the first game made by solo dev Schwingy, which is always cool to see, and the first thing I want to say is because I know you're already thinking this. Don't be thrown off by the cutesy anime girl aesthetic. This game is challenging, and you will die many times while playing it, or at least I did. It's got a whopping 96% very positive rating over on Steam with a lowly 233 reviews submitted at the time of writing this, which really leads me to believe that it's been flying under the radar. Steam has it tagged as a Soulslike, and Soulsvet Iron Pineapple, big fan by the way, covered it a few weeks ago in this video, and yeah, I didn't know he did that until just now. Damn. Now people are gonna think I just watched this video and tried to jump on that trend. Now I want to get two things out of the way right here and now, because I know these thoughts are gonna cross your mind at some point during the video, so let's address them right away. Firstly, come on, is this really a Souls-like? Okay, so I don't think that I personally would count it as one, but it does have a pseudo bonfire mechanic. They're kind of like rays of light in this game. It's also got a dodge roll, a parry, and when you die, you have to restart back at the last save point. Oh wait, that's just how games used to work all the time, isn't it? The combat during bosses is admittedly pretty soulsy, but I'd say that that's where the similarities end. If you ask me, I like to think of it as more of an action 3D platformer like Jak and Daxter or Spyro with Souls-like elements, and a tiny bit of RPG mixed in just for good measure. Secondly, I can see you thinking, dude, this looks janky as f***. Yeah, 100%, man. This game is absolutely jank AF, but it's jank in a good way. Like, it just makes you laugh because of how ridiculous things get, and not to spoil things too much, but let's just say the jank is accounted for in the story. If you're the type of player that can not only look past the jank, but full-on embrace it, then trust me, you're gonna love this. And speaking of spoilers, I'm gonna be keeping the video pretty brief and try not to spoil too much of the game because it is a short game, and I want you guys to experience it for yourselves rather than vicariously through me. Thirdly, no, I mean, this is not going to be a replacement game for FromSoft games. Come on, let's be real, but I think it could act as a nice break from posting Shadow of the Erdtree complaints over on Reddit. Also, thank you guys for 2K subs with only 3 videos released. That is absolutely phenomenal. You guys are peak. Okay, let's get to it. Here's the main menu. It's fun, it's cute, the music is playful, and when you hit start game, this happens. I freaking love it when games surprise me with that smooth main menu right into the gameplay transition like that. I still remember when God of War 2018 did it, and this was me IRL. After pulling your head out of the ground like some kind of ostrich, you gain control of a nameless, cute little anime girl with a fuzzy brown monkey plushie at her side. For now, your goal is to simply move forward and climb up a mid-sized mountain, which acts as the game's tutorial level. The UI is super simple, but it's got like a nice cute aesthetic. You've got a health bar, a stamina bar, an aiming reticle with a counter that keeps track of your ammo, and a little experience circle with your level in the bottom right. Standard stuff. The tutorial does a good job of teaching you the controls, and it's really quite snappy. You're not going to be wasting any time, so you're gonna be put right into the action real quickly. While I was playing this, I couldn't help but notice the beautiful green environment with that perfect baby blue sky with those super random balloons and floating doors. Sort of right away, I was kind of thinking like, this has gotta be a dream, right? And sure enough, right after the tutorial, you get a little cutscene that pretty much confirms we're in a dream, which totally explains the crazy, wacky stuff we're gonna be seeing for the rest of our playthrough. Throughout the game, there are a few cutscenes like this one that drive the intrigue forward, but there isn't actually any dialogue in the game whatsoever. I mean, except for these tutorial messages, but I would hardly count that. The story is bare, but it is there. Wow, I'm spitting bars today. It's not just a collection of random levels that the dev threw together. It's all connected, and when the credits rolled, I was like, wow. It's really like, you don't expect the ending, I'll tell you that. But there is a payoff, there is a story, it is worth playing through. I really don't want to spoil anything, so I'm just gonna leave it at that as far as the story goes. Okay, let's move on to the controls. This is actually where I have my biggest gripes with the game, and it's not a deal breaker or anything, but it is pretty weird. For the most part, the controls are totally fine. You've got a jump, a double jump, a roll, a melee attack that swings your stuffed animal of choice in front of you, a ranged attack with a basic ammo system where you get ammo back whenever you hit stuff in melee. If you hold down the melee or ranged attack buttons while you've got one of these adorable little ghosts following you, you can charge up a big version of those attacks that does significantly more damage. It's pretty great. You've also got a sort of, I don't know, super jump, hyper jump. It's a high jump. You jump really dang high. I mean, like, she got damn thick legs, you know what I mean? Apart from that, you've got a block and a parry slash deflect, which you can unlock later on. You can lock on to enemies and objects, although that is sometimes jank in a not such a good way. Oftentimes I found myself locking onto an enemy only for the camera to do like a 360 and then lock onto them. It's really janky, kind of weird. Camera just sometimes doesn't do what you would expect it to, and it threw me off throughout the entire game. Also, just aiming in general with the thumbstick or the mouse is pretty whack. For some reason the game kind of refuses to let the camera aim too far upwards, so instead it'll just rotate to the right, even if you're holding down up. And now that I think about it, I wonder if that was added to stop people from trying to pull off a 2B upskirt shot. Oh wait, nope. God damn it. You can also unlock the ability to climb walls at a certain point in the game, and I just want to say, this animation never gets old. Okay, here's what I really didn't like about the controls. Run is bound to left trigger, and you have to hold it down. Like, what? What's wrong with pressing down on the left thumbstick like every other game these days? Also, why the heck does holding down left trigger but letting go of a direction actually make the little girl still run in a straight line? Like, don't get me wrong, I love the little running animation with the arms spread wide and the little propellers that pop up because it's super cute, but come on, we did not need to reinvent the wheel here. Similarly, in order to glide in the air, you also have to hold down left trigger. You know, instead of just tapping the jump button a third time like in any other game with a glider. Lastly, you can throw your plushie around or pick up objects like keys or Rubik's cubes and throw them at enemies or locks to open them. It's a pretty niche ability, but it does come in handy later on for solving puzzles and fighting certain enemies. Anyways, those are the controls for you. They're not so bad that they're unplayable, and I can confidently say that I got used to them over time. So it's not like I would write the game off completely just based off the run button, you know? But I think it's the kind of thing that bears mentioning at least. Alright, let's talk environments and visuals and all that fun stuff. So first things first, the game looks pretty dang good. It's not the most beautiful game with hyper-realistic graphics or anything, but that's not what it's going for either. I kinda get late Wii era vibes actually, something like Skyward Sword or The Last Story if you've ever heard of that one. While the first few zones of the game are a bit less out there with, you know, the grassy sky islands and then the really atmospheric dark forest, you know, the types of environments we've all seen before, later on you get some much more creative combinations like the enormous mushroom village or this desolate rocky plain being bombarded by fiery meteors. Radon vibes, anyone? I really dig the visuals and the atmosphere that's being sold here. The particle effects floating around bring the areas to life, and the mostly orchestral music that accompanies these worlds is really fitting and honestly pretty damn catchy. I will say the pre-rendered cutscenes are a little bit blurry for some reason. I don't know if that's a bug or intentional, but it was a little bit disappointing. Instinct tells me that it was done to lower the game's insane file size, but as far as exploring these areas goes, there ain't a whole lot to it if I'm being honest. It's not an open world by any means, and while there are secrets and little collectibles like chests and floating stars to find hidden throughout the levels that reward exploration, none of it is required to move forward in the game. And most of the times that I did try to go exploring, I ran into an invisible wall, which, not gonna lie, kinda discouraged me from exploring further for the rest of the game. Like, there is some exploration to do, and things are pretty well hidden for the most part, so you do have to explore if you want to find everything, but finding everything is not necessary. Moving right along to enemies. Alright, the basic enemies are really nothing to write home about, except for the fact that they are hilariously jank. I mean, look at this cactus pickle thing. Those needles are freaking huge, man. Like, I don't want to touch that. Also, this little Jack-in-the-Box guy running up to me, he looks so cute. Oh my god. Quick side note, I love how the health bar looks when you're down to 1 health and it's just like hanging there for dear life. What a nice touch. Now for real, the enemies are funny as hell with all their jank animations and playful sound effects. Like just look at this crazy bunny doing flips all over the place. How can you not find this amusing? And as far as the gameplay side of them goes, the enemies all have different attack patterns and you'll actually have to adapt to them like you would when facing a new enemy in any Souls-like, which keeps the pretty simplistic combat feeling fresh the whole way through. Also, now is probably as good a time as any to mention that unlike typical Soulsy games, the combat is pretty spammy. Like you are gonna just run up to these punks, spam the hell out of your melee attack, and then dodge or block when they try to smack you back. Unless maybe you're going for more of a range build, in which case you'll have to try to aim accurately and potentially fight the camera, although you can't just lock on and that sort of takes care of the aiming for you. Just because I went for melee for most of the run doesn't mean that you have to. It's all up to how you build your character, which leads me right into the RPG aspect of the game. There are really only 2 different RPG mechanics to bring up here, and they are quite straightforward, so I'm not going to make a big deal out of this. The first one I'll talk about is the fact that you get to allocate skill points into certain stats whenever you level up and rest at a save point. As you kill enemies and collect stars that are scattered throughout the level, you will gain experience and level up. Each level up grants you a single skill point that you can only allocate once you reach one of the save points. The 6 different stats you can choose to put points into are melee damage, range damage, melee speed, range speed, movement speed, and stamina recovery. They are genuinely as self-explanatory as they sound. I mostly went for melee damage and then kinda just threw the rest of my points all over the place without thinking about it too hard, and it worked out fine. There was one instance where I had to change things up and focus on range damage, which yeah, you can do really easily by respecing at any save point, which is great. Also, it is worth mentioning that if you are going to be doing a New Game Plus playthrough, you can actually keep putting points into your stats and get all the way to max for everything. The second RPG-ish mechanic, if you want to call it that, is that as you get further into the game, you'll gain access to new plushies to beat the out of people with, and they each have their own spread of stats that I guess gets added to the ones you choose from leveling up, though I'm not too sure on the math. Anyways, it's all super intuitive, a baby could figure it out. You know what a baby couldn't figure out? How to beat these insane bosses. Probably. I mean, I'm no baby expert, but these bosses are tough, dude. Forget everything you've learned about dodging Elden Ring bosses. Good luck dodging this. For real though, they are so janky and I absolutely love it. Like, look at this guy, the Troll King, okay? He's the first boss of the game and already he's breaking the rules. And then just watch how the fight ends. Like, I am just dead at this one. I couldn't help but laugh. Like, what the hell? He just slides off. And like, man, they're just so fun and over the top, and like 10 minutes later after that guy died, I'm just out here exploring the ruined castle. Bam! Out of nowhere, he's back for round 2 and he's been promoted to Troll King Plus. Like, holy cow, dude, this is hilarious. And Fishwin is not afraid to throw in something completely out of left field either. It's sick. Like, just take a look at this epic boss battle with a giant pissed Treebeard that you have to fight while flying from cloud to cloud. I mean, like, why not, right? It's just so creative. It's just so wildly different, and yeah, it's janky as hell, but this game makes that so much fun. I'd love to talk about the other bosses in the game because they're really just as unhinged, but I can't do it. I feel like you've already seen too much. The last thing I want to bring up about the game before leaving you guys off is what you can expect once you beat it for the first time. As I've mentioned earlier, the game is pretty short. I was able to play through it in a single afternoon, and I understand that for certain types of people, that isn't gonna cut it. Now, in my personal opinion, I don't need my games to have a minimum runtime of 5, 10, 20, 50, 100 hours for it to be considered worth my money, or honestly, more importantly, my time. In fact, as I'm getting older, I'm kind of realizing that I don't really have time anymore to play these giant RPGs like Elden Ring or The Witcher or, God forbid, Path of Exile. A short 3 to 4 hour game like Plushie From the Sky is a welcome addition to my library because I can play through it, I can enjoy it, I can savor it for a bit, and then I can be done with it. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's no grind, there's no padding to speak of, but if you did want to play more, you can. You can extend your playtime with this game by starting a New Game Plus file once you've beaten it. Enemies are scaled up and you keep your levels and upgrades, and yeah, it's pretty fun to run through it another time trying to actually look for all the hidden chests and finding little donut fragments which definitely don't unlock a secret ending if you collect them all. It does. Also, the difficulty is definitely amped up for the second time around. Bosses take longer to take down and enemies do way more damage to you with each hit. Anyhow, I just want to mention that there is some incentive to going for round 2 if you ever felt inclined to do so. I just did it, it was fun. All in all, guys, this is such a unique game that really focuses on the fun aspect of the game and doesn't take itself too seriously. Like, this is a video game-ass video game. It's definitely cute, it's definitely jank, it's definitely challenging, but never so hard that you get frustrated or anything. And if you're on the fence, you can always just give the demo a shot. It's free. Let me know what you think about the game, and definitely let me know what you'd like to see me play next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.